You ever reach that point in life where you realize your own blood can turn colder than a New York winter? Yeah, that's where my story kicks off. But before I spill the tea on how my son kicked me out of my own house, and I ended up riding a limo to my penthouse, baby, hit that subscribe button real quick, 'cause trust me, you don't want to miss stories like this one. Now buckle up, 'cause Granny's about to serve you betrayal, heartbreak, and a glow-up so wild. Even Calm asked it for my skincare routine. It all started on a sticky summer afternoon in Brooklyn. The air was heavy, and so was my heart. I'd been living with my son Mark and his wife Tiffany for a few years since my hip surgery. Thought we were family, you know. I cooked. I cleaned. I even babysat their 2 kids like I was on grandma duty 24/7. But lately, something had changed. The looks got colder. The good mornings turned into, "You still here?" And that day, Mark's voice, my own son's voice, echoed through the house like thunder. "Ma, we talked about this. You gotta go to a home. You can't stay here forever." Now, let me tell you something. When a man forgets the woman who wiped his behind and raised him through ramen and rent notices, that's not a man. That's a stranger with your last name. I stood there in the living room, hands trembling, clutching my little rosary like it could fix this whole mess. Tiffany stood behind him, arms folded, smirking like she'd already won. That woman always thought I was a burden, but really, she just didn't like that the kids loved me more than her frozen chicken nuggets. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Mark, baby, you know I don't want to be in nobody's home. This is my home. I helped pay for this place when y'all were struggling. He wouldn't even look me in the eye. You helped, Ma. Yeah, but it's our house now. We can't afford you here. Tiffany and I need space." "Space?" I laughed, one of those laughs that's halfway between tears and fury. "You talking about space like I'm a damn couch in the wrong corner. I'm your mother, Mark. I'm not some tenant you can evict." That's when Tiffany spoke up, with that little smirk of hers that made me want to pray harder. "We're not saying you can't visit, Mrs. Langley. We're just saying it's time you settled somewhere better suited for your needs." Oh, she stretched that last word, like it was a yoga pose. "Needs. Girl, please." The only thing I needed was to not see her face again. I could feel my heart pounding like a drum solo in my chest. "Y'all want to throw me out? Fine. But when I leave, don't you dare come crying when Karma shows up at your door. 'Cause she got my address and she delivers." I packed my things slow, deliberate. Every dress folded like I was sealing up a piece of my past. My son didn't help. He just stood in the doorway, arms crossed, looking everywhere but at me. Tiffany. She was already on her phone, probably texting her girlfriends about how the old lady's finally leaving. But here's where fate got funny. Just as I zipped up my last bag and dragged it toward the front porch, I heard the low hum of an engine outside. Not just any engine, baby. This was a purr. Deep, smooth, expensive. When I stepped outside, my jaw nearly dropped. A long black stretch limo was parked right in front of the house. Windows tinted, chrome shining like a diamond under that Brooklyn sun. The driver stepped out, tall, suited up with white gloves. "Mrs. Langley?" he asked. "Yes, that's me," I said, blinking like maybe the heat had gotten to me. He smiled. "Your ride's ready, ma'am." I turned around and Tiffany's jaw hit the floor so hard, I swear I heard it crack. "Ride?" she hissed. "For what?" Before I could answer, the driver opened the back door like I was royalty. And honey, inside that limo? Cream leather seats, champagne cooler, the whole 9 yards. That's when it hit me. My old friend and employer, Mr. Walker. The man whose kids I nannied years ago when times were tough. He'd called a few days earlier saying he wanted to thank me properly for helping raise his kids when nobody else would. Said he had something special for me. Turns out that something special was waiting at the curb right now. I didn't even glance back at Tiffany or my son. I just said, "Y'all told me to go to a home, right? Well, looks like I'm headed somewhere real homey." I slid into that limo like a queen reclaiming her throne. The driver shut the door with a soft click. And baby, that sound was sweeter than any apology I'd never get. As the car rolled away, I caught a glimpse of Mark and Tiffany in the rearview mirror, stunned, silent and small. The same folks who thought they could break me had just watched me ride off in style. I leaned back, took a deep breath and whispered, "Lord, you sure know how to handle your business." But this was just the beginning. See, that limo wasn't taking me to a retirement home. Oh no, sugar. It was headed straight for Manhattan, right to the heart of luxury. The driver turned and said, "Mr. Walker wanted me to take you to your new residence. Said you'd find everything you need there." My new residence? My heart started racing. I thought he meant a hotel for the weekend or something. But as we crossed that bridge and hit the city skyline, I started feeling that tickle of destiny in my chest. Every mile took me further from the pain and closer to the life I didn't even know was waiting. The city lights hit different when you're looking at 'em from a limo window, like they're winking at you saying, "Girl, you made it out." I sat there, watching the skyline stretch tall and proud, and for the first time in a long while I didn't feel small. I felt free. The driver, name was Preston, all smooth voice and old-school manners, glanced at me through the mirror. "You comfortable back there, ma'am?" I smiled. "Comfortable? Baby, I ain't been this comfortable since Obama was in office." He chuckled. "You deserve it. Mr. Walker said you've done a lot for his family." That made my heart swell a bit. Mr. Walker. Now there was a man who never forgot where he came from, or who helped him along the way. I'd nannied his kids when I was barely making ends meet, cleaning houses by day, and taking the subway home with my shoes in my hands, 'cause my feet were screaming. Those kids grew up calling me Miss Lila, and I loved 'em like they were my own. The car slowed down, and when I peeked out the window, Lord, my jaw dropped. We were pulling up in front of this glass tower in Midtown Manhattan, all sleek and shiny like something straight out of a movie. The doorman was already waiting, standing tall in that fancy uniform, hat and all. "Mrs. Langley?" Preston said, stepping out and opening my door like I was the first lady. "Welcome to your new home." I blinked. "My what now?" He grinned. "Mr. Walker said to give you this." He handed me a white envelope with gold trim and a wax seal, like something from an old-timey love letter. My fingers were shaking as I opened it. Inside was a letter, handwritten, beautiful cursive, and a set of keys. "Dear Miss Lila," you once told me, "kindness always comes back around." You were right. My family wouldn't be where we are without you. This penthouse is now yours. Consider it thank you. And a home you never have to leave. Baby, I almost dropped that paper right there on the sidewalk. I clutched my chest like, "Lord, don't play with me like this." I looked up at Preston. "You mean to tell me this ain't no joke?" "No joke, ma'am," he said, still smiling. Mr. Walker insisted. "He said you gave him a home when he had none, and now it's his turn." I swear I felt tears prickling behind my lashes. I hadn't cried in years. Not since my husband passed. But right then, every ounce of pain my son had caused just melted away. The doorman helped me inside. And honey, the lobby alone looked like heaven had a waiting room. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and that scent of money. You know, the kind that whispers, "Don't touch nothing." We rode up in a private elevator that made my old Brooklyn apartment feel like a shoebox. When those doors opened, I gasped so loud Preston actually laughed. The penthouse stretched out in front of me, floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of the skyline that could make you forget your problems, and furniture so soft it looked like clouds got a makeover. There was a note on the kitchen island. "Your favorite. Sweet tea in the fridge, peach pie in the oven. Welcome home." That's when I lost it. I laughed, cried, and prayed all at once. The kind of cry that shakes the pain right out of your bones. I walked through that place slow, taking it all in. The silk curtains, the grand piano I couldn't play but sure as hell would try, the king-size bed with pillows that looked too pretty to drool on. And then I saw it. A framed photo on the table. Me and Mr. Walker's kids from back when I used to take 'em to the park. I was younger then, face lined from work, but eyes full of hope. He'd kept it all these years. I whispered, "You done good, Walker. You done real good." That night I sat on the balcony, city lights blinking beneath me like a million stars. I could see everything, the hustle, the taxis, the people chasing dreams. And I thought, that could have been me still down there, begging for scraps of love from folks who never deserved me. But look at me now, up here, breathing easy. I grabbed my phone and took a selfie, first one in years. My gray curls were wild, my lipstick was crooked. But baby, my smile, $1 million. I posted it to Facebook with the caption, "When they tell you to go to a home, make sure it's one with a skyline view." The comments blew up. Old friends, church folks, even Mr. Walker's grown-up kids, all celebrating. The tone message stood out. It was from a number I knew too well. Mark. He'd texted, "Ma, where are you? We didn't mean what we said." Oh, baby. Ain't that funny? Folks only find their conscience once you start living better than them. I typed back slow, letting each word taste sweet before I sent it. I went to a home just like y'all wanted. Only difference, mine got room service. Did I feel guilty? Maybe a little. But more than that, I felt alive. For years I'd been surviving. That night it finally started living. I poured myself a glass of champagne. Yeah, I said champagne, and raised it toward the city. To second chances, I said, and to never letting nobody tell you where you belong. Somewhere deep inside, I could feel the weight lift. The years of being underappreciated, taken for granted, walked over, gone. I'd spent so long taking care of everybody else, I'd forgotten how it felt to take care of me. I leaned back, that cool city breeze hitting my face, and whispered to myself, "This ain't revenge. Baby, this is resurrection." And right then, I promised, I wasn't just gonna live in that penthouse. I was gonna own it. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight spilling through them giant windows like heaven had cracked open just for me. I stretched out in that king-size bed, starfish style, feeling like royalty. For a second, I almost forgot I wasn't dreaming. But then I looked around at that fancy chandelier hanging above me and thought, nope. This is real, baby. I slipped on one of them silk robes they'd left in the closet. Pink, soft, and just screaming luxury. Then I padded barefoot to the kitchen. And when I opened the fridge, child, I nearly fainted. Rows of fresh fruit, juices, cheeses I couldn't pronounce, and a whole shelf just for desserts. My inner sweet tooth did a backflip. I poured some orange juice into a crystal glass. Not plastic, crystal. And stood by the window sipping it like a movie star from the 60s. Down below the city buzzed. Yellow cabs honking, people rushing with coffees in hand. All that beautiful chaos that used to make me tired. Now, it just made me grateful. Then my phone buzzed again. You guessed it, Mark. This time he'd sent a voice note. "Ma, I'm sorry, okay? We were stressed. Things have been tough. Tiffany didn't mean what she said." I rolled my eyes so hard they almost clicked. Tough? Tough was raising him on food stamps and faith. Tough was working double shifts while praying the landlord wouldn't cut the heat. What he was calling tough was just a lil taste of consequence. I didn't even reply. I just put my phone face down and turned on the music system. Oh, and honey, that thing had surround sound so rich, it made Beyoncé sound like she was singing in my living room. I started cleaning up the kitchen just out of habit. Old habits die hard, you know. But halfway through, I laughed and put the rag down. "Girl, you got a maid service now. Sit your behind down. So I did. I sat down with a slice of that peach pie from the oven, still warm, smelling like Georgia in July. Took one bite, closed my eyes and thought, this is what peace tastes like. Later that afternoon, I got a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting nobody, but when I opened it, there stood this young woman with a bright smile and a clipboard. Good afternoon, Mrs. Langley. I'm Tara. Mr. Walker hired me as your personal assistant. Now let me tell you, I almost dropped my fork. Personal what? Assistant, she said cheerfully. I'll help with groceries, errands, appointments, anything you need. He said you've spent your life taking care of others, so now it's your turn. Lord, I had to sit down again. I felt my knees going weak. Nobody had ever said that to me before. Thank you, baby, I said, my voice cracking. But you don't gotta do all that. I can still move around fine, she smiled. I know you can, but that doesn't mean you have to. Whew, that line hit me harder than Sunday morning gospel. We spent the afternoon chatting. She set up my pantry, helped me get some new clothes ordered, and insisted we get me a proper phone. 'Cause apparently, my little flip phone was vintage. It told her, honey, this phone been through more drama than your iPhone ever will. But by evening, I was sitting out in that balcony again, watching the sun dip low behind the skyscrapers. Tara had gone home, and it was just me, a soft blanket, and the city humming beneath my feet. That's when I got another message. This time, it was Tiffany. Mrs. Langley, she wrote. I think we got off on the wrong foot. We'd love to come visit you sometime. I let out the biggest laugh, loud, real, deep, the kind that makes your chest ache but your soul feel light. Visit me, girl, please. When I needed a roof, you gave me the door. Now you seem riding high and suddenly you remember my name. I typed back slow. Tiffany, I'd love that. Once y'all learn how to treat people right. Till then, enjoy your space. Then I turned my phone off. Completely. Because sometimes peace ain't just about silence. It's about choosing who gets to disturb it. Days turned into weeks, and I started finding myself again. I joined a book club downstairs in the building. Not 'cause I loved reading, but 'cause the ladies always brought snacks. I started walking in Central Park every morning, feeding the pigeons, talking to folks who didn't know or care that I'd been kicked out by my own son. And wouldn't you know it, folks started loving me. They'd call me Miss Lila from 40 Svenay, the lady with the sass and the best pie recipes. I felt like I'd finally found a new kind of family, one I chose. Every night I'd look out that window, and the lights reminded me of the promise I made to myself, to never let anyone make me feel small again. But deep down, I knew my story wasn't done. The thing about peace is, it don't stay quiet for long, not when life's got unfinished business. And baby, that unfinished business was about to show up, knocking loud and messy, because one Thursday afternoon, just as I was sipping tea and humming along to an old Aretha tune, the front desk rang my intercom. Mrs. Langley, the doorman said, there's a man downstairs asking to see you. Says he's your son. For a second, my breath caught. My hand froze on the cup, and the tea rippled like it felt my nerves. My what? I asked. Your son, ma'am. Mark Langley. He said it's important. I sat there in silence. Half of me wanted to hang up, the other half, that soft, motherly part that just never dies, told me to hear him out, so I said, send him up. The elevator dinged like a countdown I wasn't ready for. My palms were sweaty, my heart beating double time, and I swear even the walls could feel the tension rising. When that door slid open, there he was, my boy. Mark looked older, tired, like life had given him a whooping and forgot to say sorry. His hair was messy, eyes red-rimmed, and his shirt looked like it had been slept in. But none of that softened me, not after the way he'd thrown me out like I was yesterday's garbage. Ma, he said, voice small. You look good. Course I do. I shot back. I've been sleeping in Egyptian cotton sheets and eating cheesecake for breakfast. That'll do wonders for a woman's glow." He gave a weak laugh, scratching the back of his neck. "Yeah, guess I deserved that." "You guessed right," I said, crossing my arms. "What do you want, Mark?" He hesitated, looking around the penthouse like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "So, this is where you live now? A penthouse?" "Sure is. The kind of home you were talking about, remember?" His jaw tightened. "Ma, please, don't do that." "Don't do what?" I snapped. "Tell the truth?" "'Cause last I checked, the truth was what got me out that door in the first place." He dropped his eyes like a scolded little boy again. "Tiff and I messed up, okay? Things got rough financially, and we took it out on you. I thought if you went to a home it'd be easier. For all of us. Easier." I laughed bitterly. "You mean cheaper?" He winced. "You're right. There it was. The confession I never thought I'd hear. And I didn't even feel good about it. I just felt tired." "Ma," he said, stepping closer. "I came here to make things right. Tiffany's pregnant again. We're having another baby." I froze. "Another? You can't even take care of the ones you got." He sighed, sitting down on the couch like his knees gave up. "I know, but we're trying. And I want you to be part of the family again. The kids miss you. They ask about you every day." That one hit hard. My grandbabies. My baby's babies. Lord, I'd miss those little faces. Still, I crossed my arms tighter, trying to keep my heart from melting too soon. "You got a funny way of showing love, Mark. You don't throw people out when you love 'em." He nodded, his eyes glassy. I know I was angry, scared, prideful. "And Tiffany, don't you even stop blaming that woman." I cut him off. "You a grown man. Ain't nobody make you do nothing you didn't want to do." He swallowed hard. "You're right again. I just—" His voice cracked. "I miss you, Ma. I really do. Now let me tell you, there's something about seeing your child cry, even when he's a grown man. It's like your heart gets pulled in two directions, half wanting to hold him, half remembering the pain he caused." I took a deep breath. "Mark, I forgive you. I really do. But forgiveness don't mean forgetting. You hurt me deep. You and that woman made me feel like I didn't matter." Tears rolled down his face. "I'm sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you." "Good," I said softly. "Start by learning what family means. It ain't about convenience. It's about care. You don't quit on your people when they get old. You honor 'em. You love 'em harder." He nodded, silent. We sat there in that quiet for a long time, just the city humming below us. Then I got up and walked over to the counter, grabbed 2 glasses and poured some sweet tea. "Old habits die hard. Drink," I said, handing him a glass. "You look thirsty, and not just for tea." He chuckled through his tears, taking it. "Still the same old Ma." "Damn right," I said, smiling just a little. He sipped slow, eyes wandering again around the room. "Mr. Walker really gave you all this?" "Sure did," I said. "Guess he remembered all them nights I fed his kids when he couldn't make it home on time. Said I deserved a home I'd never be kicked out of." Mark nodded, quiet. "He's a good man." "Good enough to teach you something," I said. "You don't forget the hands that helped raise you up." He bit his lip, then looked at me with this guilty look I knew too well. "Ma, we're in trouble. The house, my house, it's going under. We're behind on payments. I didn't want to ask, but..." I felt my stomach tighten. There it was. The real reason for the visit. You came here for money. His silence said it all. "Mark," I said, voice low but firm. "You need to listen real good. I ain't mad you came here. I'm mad you still don't get it. You kicked me out for being a burden, remember? Now look who's knocking on whose door." He wiped his face, shame written all over it. "I know, I don't deserve help. But I'm begging you, Ma. I got 2 kids, 1 on the way." I raised my hand. "Stop right there. Don't guilt me with them babies. You should have thought about that before. You called me dead weight." He dropped his gaze again. "Here's the thing," I said. "I'll help them, not you. My grandkids don't deserve to struggle 'cause their daddy can't get his act together. But you You gon' earn my trust back. Not by asking. By doing. He looked confused. Doing what? Working. Learning. Growing a backbone that ain't made of pride. For a second, he just sat there, speechless. Then slowly he nodded. Okay, I'll do whatever it takes. Good, I said. Now go home. Take care of your family. I'll think about what I can do for the kids. But until then, keep your hands clean and your heart humble. He stood, eyes wet again. I love you, Ma. I gave a half smile. Love you too, baby. Always will. But love don't mean letting folks use you. He hugged me tight. I let him for a second. Then I pulled away and walked him to the door. As he stepped into the elevator, he turned and said, You really belong here, Ma. You look happy. I smiled, soft but proud. I am happy, for the first time in forever. And when those elevator doors closed, I exhaled the kind of breath you only release when a storm's passed. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of that storm. No, honey. Mark's apology was just the calm before the next wave. For a few days after Mark left, the world felt peaceful again. Like my soul could finally breathe. I watered my plants, baked my pies, went for morning walks, and spent my evenings watching the sunset bleed orange across the skyline. Life was finally soft. No shouting, no guilt, no folks draining me dry. But peace don't stay put long when drama's got your address. It was a Friday night. I was sitting in my robe, face mask on, binge-watching old episodes of Golden Girls, the good stuff. When the doorbell rang, I frowned. Now who in the good Lord's name? I shuffled to the door, peeked through the camera, and nearly dropped my cup of chamomile. It was Tiffany. Yup, her. Standing there in high heels and fake pearls, holding a baby carrier in one hand and a designer purse in the other. I opened the door just a crack. Well, look what the cat dragged in. Mrs. Langley, she said, her voice sugar-coated but shaky. I know I'm the last person you want to see, but please, I didn't know where else to go. I raised an eyebrow. What's wrong with your own house? She bit her lip, eyes darting. Mark's gone. I blinked. Gone where? He left, she said, tears welling up. Took the car, took the money. Said he couldn't handle it anymore. I woke up and he was just gone. I felt the world tilt a little. My stomach dropped. Mark, my son, walking out on his pregnant wife and kids. I sighed deep, the kind of sigh that's half anger, half exhaustion. Bring the baby inside. She stepped in, sniffling. Her perfume, way too strong for my taste. The baby, my little grandbaby, was sound asleep, face soft and perfect. One look, and my heart cracked wide open again. I swear, Mrs. Langley, Tiffany sobbed, sitting on the couch. I didn't mean for things to go this way. I know I treated you bad. I was jealous. You were always the one everyone loved. Mark, the kids, even his dad before he passed. I wanted that love too, but I didn't know how to earn it. I sat across from her, arms folded. So you decided to tear me down instead, she nodded, crying harder. I was wrong. God, I was so wrong. And for the first time since I'd met her, I believed her. Not 'cause I trusted her words, but 'cause her mascara was running, her voice was raw, and her fancy facade was gone. She looked human. I leaned back thinking, Tiff, you made my life hell for a while there, but you're still the mother of my grandbabies, and I ain't the type to turn my back on a child, even a grown one who made mistakes. She looked up, surprised. You'll help me? I'll help them, I corrected. You, I'll tolerate. She actually laughed a little through her tears. Fair enough. I fixed her a plate, chicken and cornbread, the comfort kind, and while she ate, I called the only man I knew, who might know where Mark had gone, Preston, the limo driver. He'd told me he sometimes ran into Mark around the city, doing delivery jobs and side hustles. When he picked up, I explained the situation. Mrs. Langley, I saw him 2 nights ago. Preston said. He was at some bar in Queens, looking rough. Said something about running away from his problems. That hit me like a cold slap. I hung up and turned to Tiffany. He's alive, but he's lost, she whispered. He's been lost for a long time. We sat there in silence, the baby cooing softly in her arms. For the first time, there wasn't anger between us, just exhaustion and a shared ache. Over the next few days, Tiffany stayed with me. I told her it was temporary, but deep down I knew she needed a safe place. And I needed something too. Closure maybe, or redemption. We fell into a strange rhythm. I'd cook breakfast, she'd handle the baby. She even started cleaning around the place. Not 'cause I asked, but 'cause she wanted to help. And every now and then, I'd catch her looking at me with something new in her eyes. Respect. One morning, we were having coffee on the balcony when she said, "You ever think maybe Mark learned to run away 'cause of how easy it is for people to leave when things get hard?" I looked out at the skyline. Baby, I stayed through harder things than he ever imagined. But yeah, I think maybe we all messed up somewhere along the way. She nodded. You think he'll come back? I sighed. They always do. The question is, what kind of man will he be when he does? We sat there, both quiet, Thesity humming below like a lullaby. For the first time, I saw Tiffany not as the villain in my story, but as another lost soul trying to do better. Later that night, I went to check on the baby. She was sleeping peaceful, tiny fists balled up like she was fighting dreams. I touched her cheek and whispered, "Don't you worry, little one. Grandma's here now. You gon' grow up knowing what love really looks like." And for the first time in forever, I felt whole. I went to bed that night with a soft heart. But life, honey, life loves a twist. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. I groaned, grabbing it half asleep. "Hello?" Static. Then a weak, broken voice. "Ma, it's me, Mark." I sat up straight, heart racing. "Yeah," he whispered. "I mess it up, Ma. Bad. I don't know where to go." I took a deep breath, the kind that steadies your soul. "Where are you, baby?" He gave me an address. Some run-down motel out in Queens. "I'll send someone for you," I said. "Don't move." When I hung up, Tiffany was already in the doorway, clutching her robe. Was that him? "Yeah," I said, getting out of bed. "And this time, we're gonna bring him home. The right way." By the time the sun cracked over the skyline, I was already up, dressed and running on pure mama adrenaline. I hadn't felt that old fire in years. The one that said no matter how messy it gets, I'm gonna fix this. Tiffany stood by the window, hair tied back, baby monitor in one hand. "You really gonna go get him?" I zipped up my jacket. "I said what I said." She hesitated. "You want me to come?" I gave her a long look. "You sure you ready for that?" She swallowed hard. "I have Toby." So we did what any two women with too much history and a broken man between them would do. We called Preston. It didn't even hesitate. "Mrs. Langley," he said, voice steady as ever. "I'll have the limo out front in 15. Yup, you heard that right. The same limo that picked me up the night I walked out of that house was now taking me back to clean up the mess my son made. Full circle, baby." We rode through the city insolence at first. The world outside was just waking up. Delivery trucks, joggers, street vendors setting up for the day. Inside that car, though, it felt like the calm before a storm. Tiffany finally spoke. "You think he'll even want to see us?" I smirked. "Doesn't matter. I'm his mama. He gon' see me whether he likes it or not." Preston pulled into the cracked parking lot of a sad little roadside motel. The sign flickered like it was trying to give up. Room 12B, I stepped out, heels clicking on the concrete, and knocked. A long pause. Then the door creaked open, and there he was. My son. Mark looked rough, real rough, hair messy, eyes bloodshot, shirt wrinkled like he'd slept in it for days. The smell of stale whiskey and regret hit me before he even spoke. "Ma," he whispered. "Yeah, baby," I said softly. "It's me." He looked behind me and froze. "Tiff?" She nodded. "Yeah, we came for you." His face twisted with shame. "You shouldn't have. I'm no good to anybody." I stepped forward and grabbed his shin, making him look at me. "You shut that talk down right now. You, my child, you got lost. But that don't mean you stay gone." He started to cry then, like the little boy he used to be. "I hurt you, Ma. I hurt her. I don't even know why I did it," I sighed. "Because you thought power meant controlling the people who loved you. But baby, real strength? It's owning your mistakes." Tiffany put a hand on his shoulder, tears spilling. "We can fix this, Mark, but not if you keep running." He looked between us, disbelief, writing all over his face. "You two, you ain't fighting." I laughed. "Oh, don't get it twisted, we fought. But we realized we got something bigger to fight for now. The baby, the family," I said. "The whole messy, imperfect thing." He broke down again, sobbing like he was emptying years of guilt. I let him. Sometimes crying ain't weakness. It's the body taking a deep breath after drowning. When he finally calmed, I said, "Now you gon' get up, take a shower, and ride with us. We got a lot to talk about, and I ain't doing it in a motel that charges by the hour." He managed a tiny laugh. "You still bossing me around, huh?" "Damn right," I grinned. "Now move it before I drag you out myself." We got him cleaned up and back in the limo. The ride home was quiet, but a different kind of quiet, like peace tiptoeing back into our lives. Tiffany held the baby, humming soft. Mark stared out the window, thinking. I sat across from them, studying the two people who had turned my life upside down, and somehow, full circle. When we pulled up to the penthouse, Mark just sat there, eyes wide. "This where you live now?" "Yeah," I said with a smirk. "Ain't no home for me. This is the home." He chuckled through the pain. "You really glowed up, huh?" I nodded. "Sometimes losing everything is how you learn what you're worth." Inside, I made coffee while they settled in. Mark looked around like he couldn't believe it. "Ma, you did all this by yourself?" "With a little help from fate." I said, stirring the sugar. "And a whole lot of guts." He sat down, rubbing his temples. "I don't deserve this." I leaned in. "You don't earn forgiveness, baby. You accept it, and then you do better." He nodded slow. "I will." Tiffany placed the baby in his arms. For a second, he just stared, like he was scared to touch something that pure. But when that baby's tiny hand wrapped around his finger, he melted. "I miss so much," he whispered. "Then stop missing it," I said. "Be here, now." He looked up at me, eyes glassy. "I love you, Ma. I know you do," I said, voice cracking just a little. "Now act like it." For the rest of that day, we talked. Really talked. About pain, pride, fear, all the junk we'd buried under years of silence. There were tears, laughter, even a few shouting matches, but damn it, it felt real. When the night finally came, Tiffany tucked the baby in, Mark helped clean up the dishes, and I stood on the balcony, watching the lights dance across Manhattan. The city hummed like a heartbeat. I smiled, whispering to myself, "Guess that's what a second chance feels like." And you know what? It hit me. I'd been so afraid of growing old alone. But maybe age ain't about losing things. Maybe it's about finally knowing what's worth keeping. Oh, and before I forget, if y'all been riding with me through this wild roller coaster, don't you leave without hitting that subscribe button, baby. Because this ain't just my story. It's proof that no matter how bad life throws shade, you can still rise up shining. Now buckle up, 'cause the best twist, it's still coming. The next morning I woke up with the city glowing golden through my windows. And for the first time I felt like life had finally handed me a fair deal. Not just luck, justice served with a side of style. Mark was in the kitchen making breakfast for Tiffany and the baby. The smell of bacon and pancakes hit me like a warm hug. I stood in the doorway, watching him move, and realized something wild. My boy had changed. Not overnight, but enough that hope felt like it had room to breathe. "Ma," he called, seeing me. "Coffee?" "Sure," I said, smiling as I took the mug he handed me. It was hot, strong, just how I liked it. I sipped and let the warmth hit my chest. This was home. My home. We sat at the table and I watched him interact with the baby. Gentle, attentive, trying hard not to mess up. Tiffany poured herself some juice and looked over at me with this shy, nervous smile. I nodded. "See? It ain't impossible to change." She laughed softly. "You make it sound so easy." I winked. "Baby, nothing about family's easy. But the fight's worth it." After breakfast, Mark and Tiffany headed out to run errands. Me? I stayed behind to catch up on a little me time. I had mail to open, boxes to unpack, and a penthouse to truly settle into. But most importantly, I had a life to savor that I'd almost let slip away. I wandered into the living room, flopped onto the sofa, and took a long breath. The skyline shimmered like diamonds. The baby monitor hummed softly in the background. And for the first time, I felt untouchable. Not arrogant untouchable, real untouchable. The kind of untouchable that comes when you've survived heartbreak, betrayal, and family drama, and still come out winning. That's when I noticed it. A little note tucked under the vase on the coffee table. My eyes scanned it quickly. "Dear Miss Lila, you've earned more than just this home. You've earned peace, love, and the knowledge that you are cherished. Never forget it." "Mr. Walker," I smiled so wide it hurt. I felt like the universe itself had reached down and whispered in my ear. "You did it, girl. You made it." The doorbell rang. I frowned. Who could it be now? I opened it to see a delivery guy with a big bouquet, all flowers, and a card. I tore open the card. "To Miss Lila, for showing us all that strength, grace, and a little sass. Never go out of style. You inspire." "A friend," I laughed. Lord, I laughed. Life had finally swung the pendulum back in my favor. I felt like I could do anything, conquer the world, bake pies, raise babies, run a penthouse empire, whatever I wanted. Mark and Tiffany came back that afternoon. I could tell they were nervous, like they were tiptoeing around Attiger that could still snap. I stood by the balcony, arms crossed, smiling Lily. "Welcome back," I said. "I hope the city treated you well," Buck chuckled. "It did, but I ain't the same without you here." "Exactly," I said, smiling wider. "Now let's set some rules. I'm in charge here. Always will be. You respect me, the baby respects me. And Tiffany, you earn your stripes every day. Deal?" Tiffany gulped. "Deal." Mark just laughed. "Yes, Ma, deal." We spent the evening unpacking, laughing, and just being a family. The penthouse was no longer just a luxury apartment. It was alive with love, mistakes, forgiveness, and second chances. Every corner held a memory of triumph over pain. Every window reflected ASCII line that felt like a promise. Anything is possible. Later that night, I stood on the balcony again. City lights twinkling like tiny stars. I sipped my wine, red, bold, unapologetic, and whispered, "You told me to go to a home. Mark, guess I found my penthouse instead." I thought about the journey, the yelling, the hurt, the betrayal. I thought about Tiffany's tears, Mark's guilt, the baby's soft coos, and I realized something bigger than revenge, bigger than comfort, bigger than even a penthouse. I had my life back. No one could take that away from. Not my son, not my daughter-in-law, not even the years that tried to weigh me down. I leaned back, breathed deep, and smiled. Life had given me a second shot. And honey, I wasn't wasting a single minute. And for all of you riding with me on this wild journey, if you ain't hit that subscribe button yet, now's your chance. Stick around, 'cause Granny's got plenty more stories where this came from, And you best believe they're juicy, sassy, and savage enough to keep you on the edge of your seat. So here's to the power of resilience, to second chances, to family, messy, imperfect but ours, and to never, ever letting anyone tell you where you belong. Because when life says, go to a home, you just smile, grab your bags, call your limo, and make a penthouse your throne. And baby, that's exactly what I did.